Yeah, exactly. The knowledge that I like to bring to my clients is imagine a group of people in a boat, each rowing in a different direction.
What is a product, and what's the difference between a product and a piece of software, right? A collection of features.
Here we are, Product Chronicles, the Brazilian way. I'm Joca,
I'm Fabio. Nice to be here again.
And Paulo Carolli. Pleasure to be here.
and we're discussing the topic of today, and we want to talk about metrics. Fabio has been having some interesting experiences about implementing metrics in a company that seems to be facing a digital transformation. So I'll let him start the topic today.
Yeah. Well, let's not talk about a specific case, but let's say that during our careers, and I'd like to say that this is probably a collective experience. Um, there's a lot of confusion as to which metrics to use, but it's not exactly the way I see now. It's not exactly a discussion about uh, the metrics itself, choosing a certain metrics, but rather, I would I think that I see that confusion regarding what's the use of considering a piece of software a product. Like, why do you use that word? What is a product, and what's the difference between a product and a piece of software? Right, a collection of features, uh, and uh, and the way I am thinking here, and I believe that you guys, uh, I'd like to hear your takes on that, is that a product, one of the major characteristics of it is that we are going to measure the success of it, and we're going to work until that collection of features will solve some kind of problem, and and it has to be measurable, that solution. We have to prove mathematically, if you will, that that problem is being solved by that collection of features. And I'd like to start the discussion with that and see how you feel about this description.
Yeah, I like the path you chose to talk about, because at the end product needs to solve a problem to the users, right? It needs to solve the problem. How can we attest, how can we confirm that the problem was solved? And one thing that I've even wrote about it, and I'm not sure if we discussed this here, but I don't like very much the idea of a north start metric, because it puts the success in just one metric. And I like to think in terms of North Star being a destination, a place you want to be. Where do you want your product to be, like in 2, 3, 4 years? Is the concept of the product vision. And one way I like to see the product vision is how you make the life of your user simpler, better, with the product, because of the product. And we need to measure that somehow. So that's the type of metrics that we need to find.
Well, this is quite interesting conversation. Like while you guys are talking, here in my mind, I was thinking about almost my whole career, right? I was a developer, then I was for a long time in a consultancy. And I know both of you guys, and we're talking about product, and you're talking about product metrics. But when you talk about software engineering, oof, there are all sorts of metrics, like process metrics, team happiness metrics, project metrics, and it's the word metrics is difficult. Like I came from agile methodology. For a lot of people, metrics like velocity, team velocity, lead time, throughput. Yeah, all those are they're important in some context, but listening to you guys, we're talking about results, about the product metrics, like why are we building this, or why is it worth or not adding this or that feature. The one sentence that I really like from metric, so despite its process, product, team, whatever it is tell me how you measure me, and I'll tell you how you behave. And that me can be, hopefully, in our case, a product. So we need to understand how do we measure this product? Because that's a success and that's how we should build a feature or behave or form a team or form the organization behind it, right? And the same goes for a team, or if you hire a consultancy, or if you hire a project, tell me how you measure and I'll tell how you behave. And then we talk about those specific metrics.
That's an amazing sentence. I'm gonna steal it, but
Oh, it's not mine. That sentence, I Joca, which was the first book you read that had that sentence? Because I read that sentence, even on my book, I put that sentence because it's really beautiful. But I don't remember where it came from.
Yeah, this is old one. I
It's an
remember
old
this
one,
the
right?
sentence from the agile time, the agile methodologies, the very early days, like early 2000s. People talking about tell me how you measured, and you see how
And
people behave.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, that's pretty cool because it's maybe the most important thing to remember when people are building like dashboards, because it's so common that, oh, we're measuring everything in our product, we have all the data, and all the data happens to be 20 pages of dashboards, with all sorts of indicators. And yeah, if you're trying to measure everything, you're probably not guiding your team to do anything at all. Like you're just looking at numbers, right? And it's very different when you measure something or when you look at data with a direction in mind, trying to get some guidance out of the numbers, and that's completely different from just measuring. So that means that you're going to take a look at the numbers. You're going to elect the numbers that are more interesting for the outcome that you're looking for, and you're going to use that indicator as a guidance of, okay, how far am I and my team from achieving success or not. And if you choose to measure something else, yeah, you're going to prioritize other things. So really choosing the metrics is something that a lot of people, I don't know, they avoid, or maybe they don't feel that is needed. They feel that maybe the more metrics you have, the best equipped you are. And what we're saying here is that it's pretty much the other way around, right? We need to choose what we're going to measure in order to have some kind of um, direction.
I totally agree. And that made me remind of another quote. That one I know where it comes from. Is a Mark Twain quote. Sorry about the long letter, but I didn't have time to write it. That's how I feel when we have a dashboard. We go to several organizations and we have a dashboard that's super complicated. That means you didn't have time to look at it and figure out what is the one, two, or three metrics that really matter for your organization. It's pretty easy to keep on adding stuff on a dashboard, but it is hard as an organization to understand, okay, what are we aiming at? Not all those KPIs. Even the word KPI is key performance indicator. It's not a KPI, all key performance indicators. No, it is supposed to be a few, but somehow those dashboards we end up with tons of things.
yeah. It's key performance indicator. It's key. It's
Yeah,
the key word is very important. The same way as key results in OKRs.
yeah,
It's
it's a
key.
few.
It's key. It's a few. Yeah, yeah. And yeah, that's a very good one. I went after and I found that the other quote was from Goldratt, the one that
Oh,
yeah,
probably
exactly.
from the 80s, the
Yeah, probably from the 80s, Ellie Goldratt.
Ellie
Yeah,
Goldratt. He
yeah,
wrote The
yeah,
Go and the other book on the machine.
yeah,
I forgot the name.
yeah. The
I
Go
think,
is the most famous, yes.
yeah, yeah. There was one before The Go, something the machine.
Yeah, yeah.
It actually reminded me of a little story that might be interesting, which is how I learned to take my winter gear to Hawaii. And that's a piece of advice that I would give to everyone. So I went to Hawaii with a friend. That friend, he lives in Montreal, so I went to Montreal first to meet him. And it was November, so it was already cold. Like there was a little bit of snow. So I had all my winter gear with me, and we caught the plane there, went to Hawaii. and I would go back to Brazil after. So we took our winter coats and boots and everything because we needed to get to the airport, right? And but arriving in Hawaii, and we rented a car and left all the things in the trunk. We were in Big Island, and there's this crazy thing that you can do in Big Island, which is climbing the tallest mountain there, and it's more than 3,000 meters. For the people that measure those things in feet, it's more than 9,000 feet. And there are a bunch of observatories there, and it's on top of an ex volcano. Like the volcano is still there, is still active, but that particular mountain is not a volcano anymore. The crater kind of moved southwards, and so you can go up there. It's pretty much half an hour from the beach, and in 30 minutes you're already 3,000 meters high, and you can see the sun setting kind of below you, which is a very very trippy thing to see. And then during the night it's below zero or zero-ish degrees Celsius, and in Fahrenheit that would be 40s, 30s, and a bunch of astronomers would go out with hot chocolate and lots of telescopes, and we spend the night over there with our winter gear talking about planets and observing things, right? And it was a lot of fun. Was one of the best things I've ever done during a trip. And there they told me that the Polynesians, when they colonized, not colonized because it was empty, but when they discovered Hawaii and started living there, what they did is that they observed that the birds would fly north from Polynesia, and they would say, okay, there must be some land up north. So they would follow the North Star, and in those, kayaks, canoes, whatever you call those things that they use, but very very small boats, they would go during trying to follow the birds, and they realized that the star was pretty much the direction that the birds were going. They would go as far as they could, and then they would come back. And then the next year they would go a little bit further and then come back. Eventually they reached Hawaii. And what's cool in that story is that you don't use the North Star to try to get to the North Star, right? Use the North Star to give you a direction so you get where you want to be, which is not in space looking at the star. You try to find something else. So you just use the metric to get you where you want to be. The metric is a direction, it's not a destination. So it kind of irks me a little bit when people say, "Oh, this is my North Star metric," like, and you're following, my conversion has to be 1% or something like that, and like that's not exactly a North Star, like. It's just like Caroli said, and that's why it reminded me of that crazy holiday anecdote, which is well, you use the North Star to set a direction that you want to follow, but it's not a destination per se. It's just something that's going to make sure that you're going in the right direction, that you're taking the best path possible, and so many dashboards and metrics that your people might be using today are not this, right?
Yeah. And how do you help teams to pick the right metrics to guide them in their product development efforts?
Well, I have something that I've done that so many times, and including in a few global companies, that I developed something that I like to baptize the product data feed, which is a kind of a cheesy name, but it's just a way to maybe hopefully make it stick, and it's really about finding what makes the customer happy. And so it has nothing to do with the product usage, it has nothing to do with the software usage or visits or anything like that, but rather, okay, first step for me, and this is what I apply everywhere that I get, right? Why this product got invented? Why did you launch this set of features? What do you hope to achieve with that? Oh, I hope that people use it. Okay, why exactly would people use it? Oh, so they would have that convenience. Great. Why is it convenient for them? Convenient for what exactly? What are the user trying to achieve that your product hopefully will make it better or more efficient or more convenient? And and that's usually not something inside the product, right? It's you get to something that people want in their lives. Oh yeah, the guy, he needs a report, so here's my feature of generating a report. Nobody wants a report. The report is not going to make anyone happy, but that report is needed for some decision making, maybe, or for a board meeting that will decide on something or something else. Go find out what they do with the report, and 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 that's very closely connected with the five whys, of course. Just try to get to the source of the problem. But what I usually call that is find the customer happiness. What makes them happy? I'm not even talking about the product. I don't care about the product. The product I can dump it and make another one. But I want to make sure that I know what makes the customer happy. If I know that and start measuring that, my product will be very good. So that's for me is the framework. Okay, what's the customer happiness? What kind of behavior a happy customer has that I can measure? And maybe that's going to be something like, oh, they print the report. Okay, so I'm going to measure reports printed per month, and maybe that's the closest that I can get to actually measuring my user happiness. So I would say that my quest is I want to measure something that's very, very close to user happiness. I can't be there in their living rooms to see if they're smiling or not, but I want the next best thing. What are they clicking or not clicking when they're happy? How can I measure this? And that for me would be the ideal product metrics.
Is that more connected in B2C customers, like using by consumers? Because in B2B, when we talk about happiness, is almost like you are talking dirty words in the B2B scenario, or not? Do you believe that even the B2B customers, they deserve to be happy as well?
Hopefully, right? I mean, we can talk about turnover. We can talk about how frustrated we can be when we need to I don't know, file an expense, and then they're using some internal CRM that you have to fill 20 form fields in order to file an expense, and you get so frustrated. And I've done that. Sorry, people from my past, but I've done that, and I just say, oh no, I couldn't do it because I couldn't use the system. I don't know. I'm a little dumb. Can't you just give me back my expenses? Here's the bill or whatever. And people would go and yeah, okay, yeah, whatever. And then I would just find a way to bypass them using the horrible interface and just get my money back, which is what I wanted, right? So happiness in that sense, if you're talking about filing expenses for your company to reimburse you. So what is happiness there? And some crazy PM would write a user story like, "Oh, me as a user, I as a user, I don't know how to say that in English, but okay, as a user, I want to file an expense," and that would be so completely wrong, right? I don't want to file an expense. I want my money back. I spent some money on a plane ticket. I want the company to reimburse me. That's what I want, and this is my happiness, right? So this is what I need to measure. I don't care if they use my feature or not. I want to see if they're getting the money back. If they are getting the money back, I must be doing something right. If they're
But
not
Fabio,
getting the money back, we're going to have a problem in the company.
I totally agree here, right? But then there is a challenge because you're talking about the outcome. We should measure the outcome, the product outcome, that make the customer happy. But sometimes to reach an outcome, you need a lot of small things. The example you gave as a user story is exactly this. It's a small piece towards an outcome. Would be easy for me to agree and say, oh, every single user story should fit an outcome. Yeah, that's easy said, difficult done. And then we have that challenge, the in between. It's like, cool, we agree with the product match, cool, we agree with the large outcome, but somehow, of course, I was in a consultant for several years, right? You need to make that translation on a team that's going to build stuff, assuming that stuff is going to reach that outcome. So the error which I helped some teams commit is we accept the orders or the guidance towards build this output here because I'm sure it will provide the outcome. That for me, it's a mistake. Maybe I should have pushed a little hard and say, okay, I'm gonna build the output because that's what you hired me for. But I need to have access to the outcome. I need to see the results to make sure you're not wasting your money. That. But sometimes that translation has to be there. It's
I would say so, but I had the chance to see that happening successfully when you actually make the output and you compensate that output, and then the output becomes an
oh
outcome,
yeah,
which
yeah,
which means
which
maybe
yeah,
you're gonna measure the team's performance if they
yeah,
correctly
it's,
generate the outputs that you want, and they will get some bonus. So
yeah.
okay, now we're
So they'll
talking
keep
about their
them. Yeah,
happiness.
yeah.
If that
That,
doesn't happen, then it's very, very, very
yeah.
hard.
Tell,
No, no.
tell me how you measure me, and I
Yeah,
will tell you how I
exactly.
behave.
Uh,
That's simple. If
yeah,
you're gonna measure me by the number of features that I develop, that's what you're
boom.
gonna have.
Yeah.
You're gonna
Or
have
by
a
the
lot of
team
features.
velocity. I'm gonna
Exactly.
be really fast, going some direction. I don't know if it's right or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly,
Pay
exactly.
me, pay me by mileage. I'm gonna run for hours and hours. Don't pay me by destination. I'll be going somewhere.
No, that's a great point. It becomes political at some point. It's about finding that those relevant metrics and compensating the team, for the right things that they will uh, produce. Like I've seen people saying, "Oh, we work on a squad here," but the engineers they have some OKRs, and the product managers have another set of OKRs, and then the designers have another set of OKRs. Like,
That's not a team.
yeah, that's not a squad. That's not even a team. Each one will be compensated for doing completely different things, and no wonder that they're actually constantly fighting. You don't have like a problem, and people would come to me sometimes like, "Oh, I have a problem with my professionals." No, the problem is above. Like
Oh,
they don't have any problem. They're just following the directions. The directions is pretty much demanding that they will fight because their OKRs or their metrics are conflicting.
this week I was trying to help a client, and some I cannot tell the name, right? And then some people on the ground were telling me, "No, Carol," and I need to tell you because they don't care about. We are talking about OKRs, right? They don't care about the result, and they even prefer Kanban than Scrum. I'm like, okay, explain me because I don't care. Both are good.
Yeah, exactly.
Against neither Kanban or Scrum. They are both good, but we're talking about here about outcome. Not the process on how to do things. No, no, no. Let me tell you, because on the past they used Scrum, and then we had some really good Scrum masters here, and they would ask, "What is the outcome you want on this sprint?" And they got tired of this. They said, "No, now we're going to use Kanban." And then boom, output, 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 output. They're super happy. But please come here and help me with the OKRs because they have no clue on how to do it. And I was like, I'm sure Dave, the Anderson, would be happy with the Kanban stuff. But like, come on. I don't care. Kanban is Scrum. It's all great. But we need to go towards reaching great outcome.
Yeah, and everybody in the team to the same outcome.
Yeah,
It's not each one.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah, the
Everybody in the
analogy
same
that
boat.
yeah, exactly. The analogy that I like to bring to my clients is imagine a group of people in a boat, each rowing in a different direction.
Yes,
The boat doesn't go anywhere. Then, if you put everybody rowing on the same direction, then you're gonna have the boat moving forward. So,
exactly.
yeah.
Well, but to your point, Joca, there's something that I like also to highlight for internal products because I do that a lot, and usually I have a hard time sometimes evangelizing that a little bit. Like, oh, it's about some user happiness inside the company, and sometimes it's very, very foreign to people. Like, what? No, they asked for a feature, I delivered the feature. What they need it for work. People kind of don't get to that place that you highlighted. Yeah, sometimes B2C you talk about happiness, and B2B like, oh, they're paid to do that.
Yeah.
But no, people are paid to find the shortcuts. Literally, you only have so many hours in a day. So if I find an easier way to do my job, I will, and I don't care about the systems or the software or the internal products that you put in front of me. So there is something that's very important, which is the internal users. They also have their goals that they want to meet, and it's way easier for me to know what goals an internal user wants to meet than a B2C, that I have to go out in the field and kind of imagine, millions of people what they want from my product. It's so much easier to go to a department that is using my internal product and say, hey, how do you use that towards your own goals? What are your goals, by the way? And just realize, oh, so my product is helping you on those goals or not, and how do you get compensated? How do you get bonus? And that's the best question that you can always ask to internal teams. Like, okay, what's a good performance for in your team? And because if I can design a software that will help that team have a good performance, I'll be their man like for the rest of my days. They're gonna love my team forever. They're gonna vouch for my work. And sometimes it even happens, and it happened in my career, that I actually transform an internal product in an external one because it was so good that the market started demanding that. And that's how I actually started my career as a product manager. So and I did it again later. So that's what pretty much how I measure internal products. First thing, yeah, it does something. Second thing, people like to use it. Third stage, it's so good that it could go into the market and compete.
One thing, I understand that people need to like to use it, but sometimes even not being that good to use or being likable to use, if it solves a problem, if it actually solves a problem, it's good enough.
It is.
I know this for a fact. I've been at Gympass in the early days of Gympass, not so early, 2018, and the app was not that good. The app was bad, and there was no interface for HRs. The interface for HR was very, very bad. But even so, the product, the combination of the not the digital part, but all the access to gyms and studios, this corporate benefit that companies offer to their employees, access to a network of gyms and studios, the whole product was so good, so interesting that it sticked. It solved the problem. So I like to place not in terms of happiness and liking to use, but solving a problem. It actually solves a problem, even if it's don't solve as good as it could be. But if it solves a problem, there's a good chance that the product will be used.
That's a
It
great
gotta be
way to
useful.
put
It
it.
reminded me of Craigslist when I lived in
Exactly.
US. You know,
Yep.
it,
Gotta love
say
Craigslist.
whatever you want. It was ugly. It's super useful. That's it. You know, it grew like crazy. Yeah, a product has to be useful. That's the first thing.
Yeah, that's the thing, Joca. What you're saying is that, yeah, forget the product, forget the user interface. It's not about that. It's about actually solving a problem. Um, uh, what I hear you saying is that HRs had no easy way to connect to gyms to offer that benefit to the employees, and we offer that. It was crappy, it was weird, it was badly done, but it was something.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was solving the problem. Maybe it didn't need to be an app. Maybe you could do that with pen and paper.
Yeah. In the beginning, it was.
Yep,
In the
there
beginning,
you
it
go.
was. Yeah.
There you go.
And so that's and teams need to figure out a way to measure that you are solving a problem, a real problem for the user. If you are able to solve a problem for the user, and if you are able to measure that, then you have a good chance of having a successful product in hands.
Yeah, and a very good metric to follow.
Yeah.
So many times I went to some place and people go like, "Oh, my average time on page is 1.5 minutes." And like, okay, what do you want to know? Like, oh, is it good? Like, I haven't a clue. Like, I don't know. What is your product? Okay, does the user is the user happiness connected to being on your page, wasting time, or maybe maybe the product has to be more efficient. It depends. Maybe it's a game. A game? Well, if they're wasting more time, or Netflix, if they're wasting more time spending, not wasting, let's call it spending. Spending more time in your product, that means probably that they're, getting happier, they're getting what they wanted from the product. But if it is a product based on features and functionalities and operations, I don't want them to
The
spend a long
longer,
time in
yeah,
the
the
product at
worse.
all. That probably means that it's very inefficient. So again, it's not about the metrics. It's really about what is the user trying to achieve.
Yeah. Excellent. So we talked a lot about metrics, and metrics is just a part of what we actually want to solve. We are solving a problem for our user, for our clients, and I guess we covered a lot of ground. Don't know if you want to add anything else on the topic.
Go
If,
to Hawaii and see the sun setting.
And there you go. There you go.
yeah, let's
So
stay on metric on this level. Let's not go specific on every single,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. That's cool. So we just closed another episode of the Brazilian Way, Product Chronicles. Three Brazilians with strong accents talking about product, and we hope to see you in the next episode. And let me ask you, please, let us know what other topics do you want us to cover. See you in the next episode.
See
Bye.
you.